The tale begins in Rohan years before the War of the Ring. Héra, the spirited and headstrong daughter of King Helm, rides through the lands, her adventurous spirit often clashing with the expectations placed upon a princess. She's a skilled rider and fiercely independent, a stark contrast to her brothers Helith and Hamma, who are more traditionally inclined. A messenger arrives from the West March announcing that Lord Fricka has called a Witten, a council, an unusual move as only the king typically summons such a gathering. Héra's family discusses Fricka's motives, with some speculating he seeks to challenge Helm's authority. Fricka, a plump and seemingly complacent lord, arrives at court with his son Wulf and General Targ of Dunland. Fricka directly questions Helm's allegiance, suggesting Rohan has become a lapdog to Gondor. He then makes an unexpected proposal. Wulf seeks Héra's hand in marriage, an offer he frames as a way to strengthen Rohan and assert its independence from Gondor. Héra, caught off guard, firmly rejects Wulf's proposal, stating her desire not to marry any man. Her father, angered by Fricka's insolence and his son's direct proposal, challenges Fricka to a duel. Helm quickly defeats Fricka, striking him dead with a single blow. Wulf, enraged, draws his sword against the king, but Helm banishes him from Rohan, vowing to kill him if he ever returns. Seasons pass and the death of Fricka becomes a whispered omen. Héra, despite Wulf's actions, finds herself haunted by his banishment. She remembers a time when they were inseparable as children. She attempts to find word of him, but Wulf has vanished without a trace. Meanwhile, strange occurrences plague Rohan's eastern border. Mysterious sounds and the discovery of mutilated horses suggest a new threat. Héra, despite her father's protective restrictions, investigates. She and her companion Leif discover the body of a southern mercenary and track the culprit to a mummak, an enormous war elephant. Héra is nearly killed but is saved by the timely intervention of her brother Frelif. During the encounter, Héra is captured by General Targ, who reveals he serves a High Lord of the Hill Tribes. Héra is taken to Isengard, a formidable fortress, where she discovers the High Lord is none other than Wulf. He explains that he has united the fragmented hill tribes under his command, fueled by his long-held resentment for how he and his Dunlending heritage were scorned by Rohan. He reveals his plan to kill Helm and his sons seize the throne and rule over a unified Rohan. Héra attempts to reason with him, even offering to marry him to prevent war, but Wulf, hardened by his past, dismisses her, stating the boy she knew is long gone. With the help of Olwine, her maid, Héra escapes Isengard, riding Ashura, her swift horse, back to Edoras. She warns her father that Wulf's army is not camping but advancing swiftly to attack under the cover of darkness. Helm, however, dismisses Héra's warnings about the Mumakil and the Southern, attributing them to isolated incidents. He refuses to seek aid from Gondor, believing his pride and the strength of Rohan will suffice. He plans to meet Wulf's army on the northern plains, trusting Lord Thorn to cover the eastern flank. Frelif, advocating for a strategic retreat to strongholds and calling for Gondor's aid, is rebuked and ordered back to Dunharrow. As the Rohirrim prepare for battle, Héra discovers Lord Thorn's treachery. His seal, found on a pledge scroll, indicates his allegiance with Wulf. Realizing the eastern flank is compromised, Héra alerts her family and an evacuation of Edoras is initiated, heading towards Dunharrow. Helm leads the charge against Wulf's advancing army, but the unexpected arrival of Mumakil, commanded by Variog mercenaries allied with Wulf, throws the Rohirrim into disarray. Helm realizes the city is exposed and orders a retreat to the Hornburg, a heavily fortified keep. Helith is sent to find Héra and secure the evacuation. During the chaotic retreat, Helith is killed by a mummak and Hamma is also gravely wounded while trying to protect Helm. The remaining Rohirrim and civilians, including a grief-stricken Helm and Héra, manage to reach the Hornburg and close its gates, trapping themselves inside. Wulf, having captured Edoras, demands Helm's surrender and Hamma's life. He executes Hamma in front of Helm, taunting him and swearing to make him suffer alone before finally letting him die. As winter sets in, Wulf, now ruling from Edoras, summons the Lords of Rohan to swear loyalty, convinced Helm is a broken man. Meanwhile, inside the Hornburg, supplies dwindle and the besieged Rohirrim face a grim future, their fate hanging precariously in the balance. Frelif, waiting in Dunharrow, remains unaware of the dire circumstances of his family and people. The Rohirrim trapped in the Hornburg face dire circumstances as supplies dwindle and winter bites hard. Messengers sent for help are shot down by Wulf's archers, leaving the people feeling cut off and desperate. Inside the keep, the mood is grim, with some fearing surrender is their only option. Héra, however, rallies them, reminding them that despair is Wulf's greatest weapon and that they must find a way to survive together. They discover Wulf is constructing a siege tower intending to breach the Hornburg's formidable walls. Meanwhile, King Helm remains in a deep unresponsive state, his body healing but his mind seemingly broken by grief over his son's deaths. Héra takes Hamma's shield, determined not to let his memory fade. Helm eventually stirs, fueled by grief and a thirst for vengeance. He begins to slip out of the Hornburg at night, a terrifying silent force slaughtering Wulf's men. Whispers spread among the Dunlendings that Helm Hammerhand has become a wraith, an unholy terror that cannot be killed by mortal weapons. Fear spreads through Wulf's camp, disrupting his plans. Héra, concerned by her father's state and the chilling stories, eventually follows him. She finds him in a bloody state, having torn through a group of orcs who were discussing stolen rings and their orders from on high from Mordor. Héra confronts her father, lamenting his dangerous individual acts of vengeance. Helm, regaining some clarity, expresses his regret for not listening to her earlier and acknowledges her bravery and strength. He admits he failed his family and Rohan by underestimating her. An urgent alert forces Helm and Héra to flee back to the Hornburg. Helm, weakened by his grief and his nocturnal exploits, becomes trapped while helping Héra re-enter the keep. He makes a final heartbreaking sacrifice, holding the gate against Wulf's advancing forces to allow Héra and the others to get inside. He tells Héra that Rohan needs her and that she is a daughter of kings capable of leading them. Helm then freezes to death, still standing guard at the gates, his will unbroken. Wulf, now confident of victory with Helm's presumed death, prepares a final assault, ignoring his general's pleas to abandon the costly siege. He believes the Hornburg will be Héra's tomb. Héra, however, fueled by her father's sacrifice and Olwyn's encouragement to choose how the story ends, devises a desperate plan. She uses her father's helmet and horn along with a clever ruse involving the great eagles to spread a false rumor among Wulf's men that the Hornburg is filled with vast riches. This creates a distraction and encourages the Dunlendings, who are tired of the siege, to breach the walls themselves. As Wulf's forces prepare their final assault, Héra, dressed in her father's armor and mounted on Ashura, emerges from the Hornburg to challenge Wulf to single combat. She declares herself bride to no man but to death, goading Wulf by questioning his worthiness to rule and his cowardice in facing her father. Wulf accepts the challenge but, true to form, betrays his word, ordering a full assault on the Hornburg even as he fights Héra. Meanwhile, Frelif, having abandoned Dunharrow and marching towards Gondor, leads his soldiers back towards the Hornburg, guided by the timely arrival of the Great Eagles. Héra, having lured Wulf's main force into a frontal assault, triggers the release of the Hornburg's secret tunnel, allowing the remaining Rohirrim and civilians to escape to the mountain pass towards Dunharrow. Olwyn stays behind with Héra to provide cover, a true shield maiden to the end. As the siege tower finally breaches the Hornburg's walls, the returning Rohirrim under Frelif, guided by the blast of Helm's horn, sounded by Héra, burst through Wulf's weakened lines. The Dunlendings, believing Helm Hammerhand has returned as a wraith, panic and flee. Héra confronts Wulf, defeating him in single combat. Frelif arrives and Héra, showing mercy, allows the remaining Dunlendings to return to their homes. The long winter ends, ushering in spring and a new era for Rohan. Frelif Hildson is crowned the 10th King of Rohan, the first of the second line of kings. Saruman the White is introduced as the new master of Isengard. Héra, having inherited no crown but having proven herself a true leader, receives an unexpected invitation. She chooses adventure, riding off with Olwyn to meet Gandalf, who has questions about the orcs and the rings they were stealing, setting the stage for greater tales in Middle-earth. Following the decisive victory at Helm's Deep, Rohan began the arduous task of rebuilding. The scars of war were deep, but a new sense of unity and hope blossomed under the reign of King Frelif. He immediately set about restoring order to the shattered lands, sending envoys to reassure the lords who had retreated to their strongholds and initiating efforts to reclaim lost territories. The displaced peoples who had found refuge in Dunharrow and other untouched corners of Rohan slowly began their journey home, their faith in the monarchy renewed by the unwavering courage displayed at the Hornburg. Héra, though declining the crown, became a living legend. Her defiance against Wulf, her tactical genius in orchestrating the escape from the Hornburg, and her final act of mercy towards the retreating Dunlendings cemented her place in the annals of Rohirric history. She worked closely with Frelif, her keen insights and knowledge of the land proving invaluable in the immediate aftermath of the war. Her influence was subtle yet profound, guiding the new king in his decisions and ensuring that the lessons learned from the conflict were not forgotten. The Shield Maidens, once a forgotten tale, now served as an inspiring symbol of Rohan's resilience and the strength found in unexpected places. As spring turned to summer, the alliance with Gondor, though not formally solidified during the war, began to take on new meaning. The shared experience of fighting against the encroaching darkness fostered a deeper understanding and respect between the two kingdoms. It was in this spirit of renewed diplomacy and cautious optimism that Héra, always drawn to the unknown, embarked on her journey to meet Gandalf, ready to confront the new shadows stirring in Middle-earth. The future of Rohan, while still uncertain, was now firmly in the hands of those who had fought not for conquest but for the very survival of their people. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.